turning this plan around. We're gonna be really positive about it. Yeah, this is a no for me, fam. Howdy, my loves, Julie here, and we are going to do another reading video today. I am trying to continue a series that I started a really long time ago, and it is alphabetically reading my TBR. In the last video, which I'll link up above, I did A through D, and now I wanted to continue with the series because I thought it was such a fun way to pick what my TBR would be for the next couple of weeks. Of course, we are starting off with the letter E. I went through my bookshelf and I thought that I would have like one ebook, and I was scared about it because the one book I remember having specifically is Every Summer After, and I'm just scared that there's a cheating trope in there because I've heard it compared to another book that I will not spoil for you guys. But I was pleasantly surprised. I found 4 books in total for my E collection. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to put them on a spin-a-wheel, but first, let's introduce the books. The first book that I forgot that I had is Empire of the Vampire. One thing to note, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. Same rules apply as the last video. I'm not going to include the article of the book. If the book were to be The Empire of the Vampire, I'd still classify it as letter E. So many titles begin with the, A, and. Like, it's not fair to include that because then there'd be so many books in the T and the A category, and I want to make sure that I diversify all of them. First one that I forgot I had is Empire of the Vampire. Now, this beautiful copy was obtained by me in London. This was the first book I ever bought in London. I bought it from Waterstones. I actually have a vlog of that on my other channel, so I will link that up above. I loved that bookstore so much. I thought it was so cool, and the covers are just better in the UK. I thought this was gorgeous, and it's a nice sized like paperback. So this one is a little interesting because I love vampire romances, but this seems to be more like apocalyptic. It has been 27 years since the last sunrise, ever since vampires have waged war against humanity, building their internal empire even as they tear down our own. Gabriel de Leon, half man, half monster, and last remaining Silver Saint, a sworn brother of the Holy Silver Order, dedicated to defending the realm from the creatures of the night, is all that stands between the world and its end. Imprisoned by the very monsters he is vowed to destroy, Gabriel is forced to tell his story, a story of legendary battles and forbidden love, of faith lost and friendships won, of the war of the blood and the forever king, and the quest for humanity's last remaining hope, the Holy Grail. This has been really well rated, and I always love like a vampire story. Probably a callback to my Vampire Academy days. The next book, is the dreaded Every Summer After. Listen, I've heard good things still. Like, don't get me wrong, I've heard that this is very well rated. It just has me scared. There are some things that I just do not mess around with, and the cheating trope is one of them. Don't ever recommend me a book with the cheating trope in it. I will not romanticize it. I do not like it. However, if you know me and you know that I love scandal, well, just ignore that fact about me. 6 summers to fall in love, 1 moment to fall apart, a weekend to get it right. They say you can never go home again, and for Persephone Fraser, ever since she made the biggest mistake of her life a decade ago, that has felt too true. Instead of spending glittering summers on the lakeshore of her childhood, she stays home in a stylish apartment in the city, keeping everyone a safe distance from her heart, until she receives the call that sends her racing back to Barry's Bay and into the orbit of Sam Florrick, the man she never thought she'd have to live without. For 6 summers, through hazy afternoons, on the water, and warm summer nights, working at his family's restaurant, Percy and Sam had been inseparable. Eventually, that friendship turned into something more before it fell spectacularly apart. When Percy returns to the lake for Sam's mother's funeral, their connection is as undeniable as it has always been, but until Percy can confront the decisions she made, they'll never know whether their love is bigger than the biggest mistakes of their past. Next one is a doozy. This book is called Everyone in This Room Will Be Dead Someday by Emily Austen. My aunt, she was part of a book club, and she was nice enough to give me books that she had read, and like, she doesn't collect books, so like, she was like, you can take them, which was very nice of her. Gilda can't stop thinking about death. Desperate for relief from her anxious mind, she responds to a flyer for free therapy at a local Catholic church. But Father Jeff assumes she's there for a job interview. Caught off guard and too embarrassed to correct him, Gilda is abruptly hired to replace the recently deceased receptionist Grace. It's not the most obvious job. She's a lesbian and an atheist for starters, and so in between trying to learn mass and conducting an amateur investigation into Grace's death, Gilda must avoid revealing the truth of her own mortifying existence. Alright, maybe I will like this book. That sounds like a lot of the things that I'm dealing with. Okay, and I'm intrigued why there's a little bunny on the cover. And the last one. This is a book that I had soft DNF'd and said I would return to. You can see that I still have my little tiny like charm bookmark in it. This is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. by Heather Fawcett. I didn't like hate anything about this book. It was just that I was trying to do like a YouTube video and other things like came up. I just put it down for the moment because like it was just taking up time that I didn't have. Cambridge professor Emily Wilde is good at many things. She's the foremost expert on fairies. She's a genius scholar and a meticulous researcher who is writing the world's first encyclopedia of fairy lore. But Emily Wilde is not good at people. She could never make small talk at a party or even get invited to one, and she prefers the company of her books, her dog Shadow, and the fair folk to other people. Same. So when she arrives in the hardscrabble village of, if you think I'm gonna pronounce that, Emily has no intention of befriending the gruff townsfolk, nor does she care to spend time with another new rival, her dashing and insufferably handsome academic rival, Wendell Bambley, who manages to charm the townsfolk, muddle Emily's research, and utterly confound and frustrate her. But as Emily gets closer and closer to uncovering the secrets of the Hidden Ones, the most elusive of the fairies, lurking in the shadowy forest outside the town, she also finds herself on the trail of another mystery. Who is Wendell Bambley, and what does he really want? To find the answer, she'll have to unlock the greatest mystery of all, her own heart. What I remember about this is that it was really cute academic-wise. Like there was just a lot of details about the world, which I loved. The mythology behind the fairies as they are real creatures in this world. I thought that was very cool. I wasn't totally sold on Wembley. Like I remember him just being incredibly annoying. He was getting better at the part that I was at. I do remember that. Like he was trying to honestly help her, but his attitude definitely needed to be fixed just a little bit. Excited to pick this back up if we choose this. I'm gonna put those 4 books on a spin-a-wheel and we shall see. Oh my god, I'm scared. Ready? Ah! Oh my god, of course it is. Of course it is. It's Every Summer After. You know what? It could be my favorite book. We don't know. Let's not be negative about it. Turning this plane around. We're gonna be really positive about it. And we're gonna start my next book, Every Summer After.
I cannot even describe to you how long it mentally took me to psych myself up to read this book. I've gotten to one of the flashback scenes. Those are usually the good ones. It's very short, it's 300 pages. Maybe it'll scar me. Maybe it's just really efficient at mentally destroying me.
I am now 50% of the way through, but picked up a lot. I was really resistant at first, like you guys saw. Like I really did not want to give this a chance. The flashback scenes are the cutest because they're not like together yet, building up to them being together. It starts off in like their awkward teen years, and then it goes through when they both have a crush on each other but like don't want to say it. And in the present, they're together getting ready for his mom's funeral. Sam has a girlfriend, and it's very clear that the both of them, it does imply that Percy was the one who messed up. I have a really, really bad feeling that because throughout this whole book, Charlie, who is Sam's older brother, has been hitting on Percy. And then he kissed Percy as part of a dare just to make fun of his brother. And I'm really worried that she cheated on Sam with Charlie. Maybe she got mad at him and so she decided to like hook up with Charlie. Really hope that's not the case, but like that's just the vibes I'm getting. Delilah and Percy aren't friends anymore. So I'm wondering if maybe like Delilah said something about Sam, or maybe she just like connects Delilah and Sam together and like it was too painful. She doesn't do a lot of things that she used to do. Like she doesn't even watch horror movies anymore. She doesn't write anymore because like she connected those things to Sam and it was like too painful. But it's really addictive. Like it's a really good read, especially like if you, I feel like around the springtime, this is like a good one to read like as we're gearing up for summer. I see why people really like this book. And there are a lot of quotes that I underlined. The one that made me so sad was when Sam and Percy see each other for the first time and he was like, seeing you again, it feels like I just got punched in the heart. Another one was when Percy said, sometimes it feels like someone took the script of my life and ruined it. There's some really, really good lines in here. It's just making me scared for when we get to like the really heart-wrenching stuff. And I just finished Every Summer After. Yeah, this is a no for me, fam. So sorry. I am not the demographic for this. I am not the type of person who will allow the romanticization, the romanticizing, the romantification of cheaters. And you know what? I guessed it. She slept with Charlie, Sam's brother. They all now live near each other. They all hang out. They are all connected for the rest of their lives. And then Sam proposes to her when he comes back from school. She says no. Actually, this is the worst thing ever. Not only sleeps with his brother and doesn't tell him at the time, she then goes ahead and blames her saying no on him. And is like, you know what? You were right. Like, you said we needed space you're probably gonna forget I exist in a month. That's why I'm breaking up with you. The audacity. I get it. They were 18. That's too young. It was such a messy situation. First of all, second chance romance is not even my favorite trope. The fact that you're mixing second chance romance with cheating, you're damn well be sure I'm not recommending this book to anybody. I'm reading a romance book for romance, okay? If I wanted to read about a couple cheating on each other, I'd read TMZ magazine. There's no reason for that to be in a book, and I will never understand why people include it when it's not a device to get the couple to break up. I will never understand it. So sorry, besties. If this is like a favorite book of yours, everyone has their own taste. It's just not for me. So we're gonna be giving this a 2 stars, and we are going to be moving forward with the letter F, which I think is appropriate after this. It is time to go on to the next letter, which is F. And I have a lot more F books than I previously thought. First one is a really tiny book. It's Fairest of All by Serena Valentino. This is the first in the Disney Villains series. I have the first 3. They're sold in bulk. Basically, it's just the perspective of all the evil villains of Disney. So this one is about the evil queen from Snow White. I feel like as I just watched Descendants, I'm in a pretty Disney mood. And I'm also going to Disney later this week. I'm in a pretty Disney mood this week. I feel like it's a good one. So if I pick this one, I wouldn't be mad at it, and it's pretty short. I've been meaning to read it for a very long time. The next one is 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott with Mickey Daughtry and Tobias Iaconis. This book I remember I bought for my sister, didn't realize she already had it, so I kept it. Stella Grant likes to be in control, even though her totally out of control lungs have sent her in and out of hospital most of her life. At this point, what Stella needs to control most is her distance from anyone or anything that might pass along an infection and jeopardize the possibility of a lung transplant. 6 feet apart. No exceptions. The only thing Will Newman wants to be in control of is his getting out of this hospital. He couldn't care less about his treatments or a fancy new clinical trial. In 1 week, he'll turn 18, and then he'll be able to unplug himself from all these machines and actually go see the world, not just its hospitals. Will's exactly what Stella needs to stay away from, but suddenly 6 feet doesn't feel like safety, it feels like punishment. What if they could steal back just a little bit of the space their broken lungs have stolen from them? Would 5 feet apart really be so dangerous if it stops their hearts from breaking too? I feel like it's gonna break my heart because they obviously can't be together, so I feel like that's gonna make me really sad. Next one I have is The Friend Zone. This is by Abby Jimenez. I have not read any Abby Jimenez, and I have so many of her books, so I was really glad that this started with F. Kristen Peterson doesn't do drama, will fight to the death for her friends, and has no room in her life for guys who just don't get her. She's also keeping a big secret, facing a medically necessary procedure that will make it impossible for her to have children. Planning her best friend's wedding is bittersweet for Kristen, especially when she meets the best man, Josh Copeland. He's funny, sexy, never offended by her mile-wide streak of sarcasm, and always one chicken enchilada ahead of her hangry. Even her dog Stunton and Mike adores him. The only catch, Josh wants a big family someday. Kristen knows he'd be better off with someone else, but as their attraction grows, it's harder and harder to keep him at arm's length. The Friend Zone will have you laughing one moment and grabbing for tissues the next as it tackles the realities of infertility and loss with wit, heart, and a lot of sass. That's like something that can be fixed really easily by just saying, hey, just being upfront and very honest with you. If that's not something you're into, like, please stop trying to get with me because we're not gonna mesh well. I really hope this isn't miscommunication trope. Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is actually the last book in the trilogy of the Dreamland Billionaires. I have read books 1 and 2, and I thought they were so good. My favorite is Terms and Conditions, which is the second one. Callahan. I'm the Kane brother everyone gossips about behind closed doors, trust fund brat, washed up athlete, high functioning alcoholic. No one knows the real me but her. Lana Castillo, my childhood best friend and the only woman I ever loved. When I broke her heart 6 years ago, I promised to never return to Lake Hysteria. I kept my word until my grandmother's will changed everything. To receive my inheritance, I was tasked with spending a summer at the family lake house before selling it. The request was simple in theory, but my entire plan blew up on the very first day. Turns out Lana doesn't live at the house, but she claims to own it too. Alana. Falling in love with Callahan Kane was a mistake. He told me so before destroying my heart and our friendship 6 summers ago. When he promised never to come back, I foolishly believed him. Then Cal showed up again, intending to sell his grandfather's lake house. The biggest flaw in his plan, my name is on the deed. I just love how the grandfather in this book is dead, and he is a messy queen. He has infiltrated all of his grandsons' lives to make sure that they ended up where they needed to end up. And I just love, even from the grave, he's like messing with them and making sure that they are fixing their lives in the way that he deems fit, and it turns out to be like the best options for everyone's involved. The next one is Five Brothers by Penelope Douglas. If you have not read Trisix Venom by Penelope Douglas, it's a bully romance, and listen, I don't really love a bully romance usually, but that one, so good. It's sapphic, it's athletes, It's true enemies, like truly enemies to lovers. They're vicious to each other. And it's such a good book. And this book lives in the same universe. So this is about the brothers of Olivia Yeager. Naked is the oldest, 31, ex-Marine. I don't think I've ever seen him smile. Army is 28, a single dad with the most beautiful green eyes. He has no idea who he is, if not a Yeager brother. Iron will be in prison soon. You never think it to meet him. He's a nice guy actually, but he can't stop reacting to everything. Dallas is the one I hate. 21, cruel and selfish. He takes and then throws away whatever's left and traces mine. Or he was for about 2 seconds. No one can tame him for long. Not that I ever wanted to. It was fun, but now I need to go back home. Back to the side of the tracks. Away from the swamp and these men. To my parents' big house on my clean street where I'm never dirty or messy or hot, and I will. I'll leave first thing tomorrow morning. I just want to crash on the couch tonight. Their house is dark and quiet and everyone else is asleep except for him. He sees me crying and comes at me from behind. I let him wrap his arms around my body and hold me tight. His breath is on my neck, his fingers are in my hair, and he doesn't stop there. I don't think it was Trace. Messy! I'm wondering who this girl is, if we already know her from Tris X Venom, or if this is a new girl. Excited to read this one. I feel like Penelope Douglas always does like such like addictive, like salacious books. The next one's a fantasy read. So this is Fall of Ruin and Wrath. This is by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I absolutely love her books and this cover is so beautiful. Long ago, the world was destroyed by gods. Only 9 cities were spared, separated by vast wilderness, teeming with monsters and unimaginable dangers. Each city is now ruled by a guardian, a royal who feeds on mortal pleasure. Born with an intuition that never fails, Callista knows her talents are of great value to the power-hungry of the world. So she lives hidden as a courtesan of the Baron of Archwood. In exchange for his protection, she grants him information. When her intuition leads her to save a traveling prince in dire trouble, the voice inside her places with warning and promise. Today he'll bring her joy. One day he'll be her doom. When the Baron takes an interest in the traveling prince, and the prince takes an interest in Callista, she becomes the prince's temporary companion. But the city simmers with rebellion, and with knights and monsters at her city gates, and a hungry prince in her bed, intuition may not be enough to keep her safe. Callista must choose, follow her intuition to safety, or follow her heart to her downfall. That's so fun. And the last one I feel like is pretty famous, Emily Henry's Funny Story. What did I read? I read Book Lovers. That's the only one of hers I read. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And I've heard such good things about the book. The rating on this book is crazy. Daphne always loved the way her fiance Peter told their story, how they met on a blustery day, fell in love over an errant hat, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. He really was good at telling it, right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend, Petra, which is how Daphne begins her new story. Stranded in beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan, without friends or family, but with a dream job as a children's librarian that barely pays the bills, and proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament, Petra's ex. Scruffy and chaotic, with a penchant for taking solace in the sounds of heartbreak love ballads, Miles is exactly the opposite of practical buttoned-up Daphne, whose coworkers know so little about her they have a running bet that she's either FBI or in witness protection. The roommates mainly avoid one another until one day, while drowning their sorrows, they form a tenuous friendship and a plan. If said plan also involves posting deliberately misleading photos of their summer adventures together, well, who could blame them? But it's all just for show, of course, because there's no way Daphne would start actually her new chapter by falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex, right? I actually like the premise of that. I love fake dating. I always love a fake dating scenario. It's like forced proximity. It's so good. I'm actually like really excited about all of them. And we're reading Fairest of All. So, an Evil Queen retelling. I'm actually really excited. I want it to give me Regina Mills vibes. We have finished our book F of the challenge, which was Fairest of All. This was book 1 in the Villain series. I finished this in almost one sitting. I finished most of it on my flight home from Florida to New Jersey. Honestly, I think this was just such good timing of the challenge, like really, really good timing, because I was having withdrawals from Disney. I just finished my Disney trip. I was so entranced by this that the minute we landed, I didn't even like rush to get my phone to like turn it off airplane mode or anything. I just wanted to keep reading while my mom was in the bathroom, while we were getting the luggage. I was just reading this book and I finished it before we even got home. So I was really happy that this was the book that I picked. It was short. It was a really, really fast-paced read that I liked. This just gave a whole different backstory to her that like was missing from the movies. Like, you know, when you watch Snow White as a kid, you're kind of just led to believe, you know, the queen is very vain, she's very self-centered, she's very jealous of Snow White. This actually showed the story of how it wasn't always the case. I did not expect to feel so sympathetic towards this character. Did not think I was going to feel much for her. Trigger warning, this does touch on parental abuse, violence as a child, and trauma. The evil queen grew up being very physically and verbally abused by her father, basically taunted by him because her mother died in childbirth. Her parents loved each other so much. People really knew about their relationship and how much they loved each other. But then all of a sudden, the mom died and the dad was completely mistreating his daughter. And basically, like, she was so happy when her dad died. It turns out that the mirror that you see in Snow White is actually her father, like, haunting her until he's like isolating her until she's ruining her life. I really grieve the family that Snow White had. The relationship between the evil queen, the king, and Snow White was so beautiful. They had a great family. She was not resentful of the king's first wife, of Snow's mother, like, at all. She was taking her to her grave. She was like taking care of Snow and would call her her daughter. It was such a beautiful relationship, and I think it surprised me how attached I was to their little family. And I was just so sad that family ended. I didn't really think I was going to be affected at all by the tragedy of her life. This whole time I was thinking, like, wow, this is a really good metaphor for like generational trauma. And I think this was really emphasized by that end, which was like such a twist. The queen ended up dying like in Snow White, but she did the same thing her father did, which was to put her essence, her soul, into a mirror to haunt Snow White. And I was really invested in this book. I really liked it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It was so good. I'm so excited. We are on to the next letter, which is G. So I've just went through my shelves for all the books that start with G. Not a lot that begins with G, actually. The first book that I have is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I think this is hilarious because I accidentally included this in the first video I did because I started it with A, but really it should have been G because good is the first actual word. Pretty and popular high school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend Sal Singh, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about, and 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project, at first just to cast doubt on the original investigation. But soon as she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sal innocent, and the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, and her own life might be in danger. So I actually have this whole series. My sister bought it for me for Christmas, so the good thing about this is that if I pick this and I really get into it, I have the rest of the series so I can continue if I'm super into it. The next book I have is Good Girl Complex. This is by Elle Kennedy. She wrote the Off-Campus series. Mackenzie Mack Cabot is a people pleaser. It's exhausting, really always following the rules. All she wants to do is focus on growing her internet business, but first she must get a college degree at her parents' insistence. That means moving to the beachside town of Avalon Bay, a community made up of the locals and the wealthy students at Garnett College. Must be really tough moving to a beachside town. 20-year-old Mac has had plenty of practice suppressing her wilder impulses, but when she meets local bad boy Cooper Hartley, the ability is suddenly tested. Cooper is rough around the edges, raw, candid, a threat to her ordered existence. Their friendship soon becomes the realest thing in her life. Despite his disdain for the trust fund kids he seems coming and going from his town, Cooper soon realizes Mac isn't just another rich clone and falls for her hard. But as Mac finally starts feeling accepted by Cooper and his friends, the secret he's been keeping from her threatens the only place she's ever felt at home. I really like stories that are set in a beach town, even if Mac doesn't. The last book I have is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio. I just think this cover is stunning. I'm not even gonna lie and say that the cover did not take part in why I purchased this book. It's so beautiful. I'm obsessed. Don't chase fate, let fate chase you. Deadly storms have ravaged Mina's homeland for generations. Her people believe the sea god, once their protector, now curses them. Each year, a beautiful maiden is sacrificed to the sea in the hopes of appeasing him. Many believe that Shim Chong, the most beautiful girl in the village and the beloved of Mina's older brother June, may be the one to finally end the suffering. But on the night Chong is to be sacrificed, June follows her out to the sea, knowing that to interfere is a death sentence. To save her brother, Mina throws herself into the water in Chong's stead.
Swept away to the spirit realm, Mina seeks out the sea god, only to find him caught in an enchanted sleep. With the help of a mysterious young man and a motley crew of demons and spirits, Mina sets out to wake the sea god and bring an end to the killer storms once and for all. But a human cannot live long in the land of the spirits, and there are those who would do anything to keep the sea god from waking. So this one seems to be more fantastical. It kind of gives me Moana vibe. I like how all three of these books are such different genres. We have like mystery, romance, and then like a little bit of fantasy and like entrance into the gods. So I really need to start setting up the spin wheel before I start reading the books to you guys. So sorry. Oh my god, I'm excited. I don't want to look. We're reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Wow, that's exciting. I have been meaning to read this series for a very, very long time. And actually, I'm like doubly excited because my book club member, Jackie, she read this book. I think she read the whole series if I'm not mistaken, and she really liked it. So I am excited to get into this one. Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick update on A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because I read quite a bit of it. I'm at 120 pages, so I'm about like a third of the way through. And honestly, I'm going really slow with it because this is a personal problem. This isn't a problem with the book. I'm such a baby. Anytime I pick up this book at night or when I'm home alone, I instantly get scared. The book is really good. Like, it's very fast-paced. I think the facets of the plot are really cool. I like how it jumps between regular narrative book where Pip's just kind of like, you hear her inner thoughts versus like transcripts of all the interviews that she's getting. I really like the relationship between Pip and Ravi, who is Sal's brother. I like that they're working together on this, and we just got the first twist in this story. Pip just got a threatening note in her sleeping bag that says, "Pippa, stop digging." Really, really a cool twist in this story because I feel like up until now we've just kind of been very immersed in the case, but obviously she's turning over a lot of stones. It's been many years and a lot of people are super uncomfortable with her investigation. It was pretty realistic that somebody would get upset with her. And I like the different facets of Andy Bell. It's giving me Alison De Laurentiis, like, because she was blonde, she was beautiful, popular, and it turns out that she had a lot of enemies and that she bullied and manipulated a lot of people. It's just giving me very much Pretty Little Liars. They just found out one of the more severe cases of Andy bullying a girl that Ravi and Pip are going to interview her to see her take on Andy Bell's disappearance because she is a really big motivator to want Andy dead. Also, Andy was secretly seeing an older man, and Pip thought the same thing I did, which was it might be Mr. Ward, who is Naomi's father. Naomi's father basically explains it away by saying, oh, she called me an a-hole and we had beef because I was going to turn her in for bullying of this girl, and instead I called her father and told him to sort it out because I didn't want her to get expelled. Personally, I don't believe that. I was thinking that Andy wasn't dead because no body, no crime, but Pippa laid that whole theory out. So I think it'd be too on the nose to say that. Pretty good right now, and that's where I'm at. I've been reading a bit more and I'm on page 192. Pip had just received her second threat, and this one's a little bit different. It was a text message, not a letter, and it says, "You stupid bitch, leave this alone while you still can," from unknown. And it made me think because I was comparing Andy to Alison De Laurentiis from Pretty Little Liars, and now I'm thinking that maybe if we keep going down the route of Alison De Laurentiis, maybe Andy Bell is not dead, and I think that Andy is the one threatening Pip to stop digging around. I also think the new person who actually hurt Andy and Sal is Max. It just came to light that Andy was actually selling drugs and Max wanted Rohypnol. I think that Max, who was buying Rohypnol off her, used it on Becca Bell, who is Andy's sister. And I think that Andy found out about that and confronted Max about that. And I think that Max either hurt Andy and she survived that to cover it up. He killed Sal because Max is just incredibly suspicious. I also don't like him as a person. He's a terrible person. Although that makes him seem a lot smarter than he is. That's the only catch in it, because he's kind of an idiot. Also, Ravi and Pip, despite this whole murderous background, super cute. I love their banter. I think they're so fun together. Like, they're really cute, and it's like the little tiny moments of them actually being wholesome. Really adorable. And now the sun is setting, which is my cue to stop reading this. I've been kind of in a reading slump. I haven't been itching to pick up this book again. I think it's just because I'm truly scared. Like, my main reading time is at night, and I don't want to read this at night because I'm scared, like a little baby. I am determined to finish this tonight because it's Saturday. I finally have time to myself, and my dad's downstairs. And like, it's getting really good, and I only have like 100 or so pages left. I want like Mike's Mike, like timeline of everything that happened to Andy Bell the night that she died. Like, that's what I want. I want a complete and utter timeline, red thread, everything written out. We're gonna finish it so that we can move on to something that's not gonna spook me. All right, guys, I got to an impromptu dinner with my parents, and no way in hell, after reading like 50 pages of that, I'm staying in my house by myself, so I'm going out to dinner. Quick update though, there was red string. Secondly, Mr. Ward was the one sending threatening messages and possibly killed her dog. Why did they have to kill her dog? Ravi and Pip had like the quickest third act breakup I've ever read, and I loved it. I hate the third act breakup. I hate it. It lasted all of a page. One page, he came right back around. He was like, I've been thinking about it all night. He was like, you were definitely threatened. No way that you're giving up on this. I know you as a person. We'll resolve this. And she folded like a house of cards. It was amazing. Now they figured out that Mr. Ward isn't actually tutoring, which I actually thought about. When they said he was tutoring 3 times a week, he's not actually tutoring. I was like, number one, they don't need the money. And number two, 3 times a week ever since Andy Bell came into the picture, no. But I need to figure out what he's doing instead of tutoring. But that will happen after I return home from dinner. Your girl finished. Am I a big girl now? Finished this freaking book, and it was so good. 4.5 stars. I thought this was great. We finally got the red string. We knew everything that happened that night. I knew there were multiple killers. It's really hard for me to get surprised by a plot twist. I was pleasantly surprised with this. So one of the killers, and I don't want to say because I know that some of you haven't read it and you're gonna watch this because you want spoilers because you're stinking little cute like that, but I want you to be surprised because it's so, so good. I knew that the first killer was guilty. I knew that the first killer was guilty. I already suspected them, and I was like, they definitely had something to do with this. Did not expect the second killer at all. Oh my god, I was like at the edge of my seat. And the fact that the second killer killed her dog, excuse me, I don't care if it was an accident. And I just love that Pip not only basically did not only hold accountable the people who were directly responsible for Andy's murder, but also the people that were surrounding her. At the end of it, Pip was like, I want to make one thing very clear. Andy Bell was not a good person. Do not victimize her. Do not make her out to be this lovely, beautiful person, because it was her own error that got her killed. But it was also a circumstance of her upbringing, which she pointed out, which is that her dad is a terrible human being who would make comments about how she looked, her weight, about how her only value in life was to be pretty, and that ultimately drove her into being a very self-centered person. Side note, love Ravi and Pip. Love them. But I will never forgive Holly Jackson. Why was them getting together off screen? You're kidding. Like, why couldn't we see that? I mean, I love that they're together and their tension was amazing. I loved it. I have the rest of the series, and when I'm not feeling such a scaredy cat, I will continue. I did really like the series. I always love reading in alphabetical order because, like, I don't even know when I would have picked this up, but I'm so happy once again that I did the alphabet reading challenge. I hope that it inspires some of you guys to pick up some of these books. The last 2 books I read were really good. Every Summer After, I know, was a little sketchy. These books were really good. I really liked them. So if you would like me to do this challenge again, please let me know. I love you guys. See you in the next one. Bye.
Look at her style from the street. Look at her style from the get.